We are live on this fantastic January 6th, 2021. My name is Dan McCormick. Welcome to the podcast, everybody, wherever you may be listening to. We're on the Greatest Salesman page on Facebook Live. We're streaming on YouTube Live. And if you're new to the podcast, you'll be able to pick it up on thegreatestsalesman.com. That's the webpage, thegreatestsalesman.com. Or you can go at any time, of course, to any of the podcast tabs on your phone, on your devices, and download the Greatest Salesman podcast. And you'll go live with us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. I like to call it Wisdom Wednesday. And I get to pick the greatest salespeople in the world. And this is truly one of my great friends. I really enjoy everything that he does in life, everything that he stands for. And if you're new with us here today, feel free to comment. Like, you're going to see comments come up on the screen. If you have not been on the show before on StreamYard, and my producer will put your comments up there on the screen if we get the time for that. And if you listen today, you're live with us, or if you're 6 weeks away, 6 months away, we love it if you'll like the show, if you'll follow the page, if you'll leave a review on the podcast sites, etc. We love your comments as we go, and thank you so very much. It's great to see everybody, Gail and Vanessa, and a lot of your old friends here, Nate. And I know that you hung up the cleats here about 18 months ago, so you haven't been on the field of public speaking a whole lot. But I want to really, in advance, just thank you for making the time, because I know that you grinded for 30 plus years and said, I'm going to hang up the cleats. And so welcome to the podcast. Thank you. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too. Yes. It's kind of strange when you're out of the game for, what is it now, 18 months or something close to that. Yeah. But we're having a great time, and we are taking retirement seriously. And it's been great to decompress a little bit. I've never felt so connected. I didn't know you could pop into so many live streams, Dan.
We got a few things going on here, Nate, but you and I have worked together for the better part of 18 and a half years. And I've known you for a long time. A lot of people know your name in the world of direct selling and network marketing. You've got massive real estate holdings and businesses that you do. We put it in the show notes and what your background is. But what I love to do, Nate, before we get started, is there'll be people that know you, people that work with you, people that don't know you. I wonder if you couldn't just from I would simply say that you are probably one of the most well-balanced people I've ever been around in my life. You're one of the most focused and goal-oriented. I wonder if there's three things you can look to in your life and your accomplishments that you find are the things that kind of have driven your life. Three things that shape each and every day or every part of your life.
Yeah, sure. So you asked me that question a few days ago to think about that. So I've had a little bit of time to ponder that question. I would say the most influential thing in my life has been my wife. Just being able to be lucky enough to have a great partner and someone who has held me accountable. And I think you just gain a whole bunch when you make a forever commitment. It's like it's for real, and it's good and bad, thick and thin, sickness or health, whatever it might be, and you learn how to sacrifice, you learn how to put somebody else ahead of yourself. And I think especially when children arrive into that equation, then you really are like, okay, I definitely would give my life for these kids. You get to the point where you'd sacrifice anything for somebody. And I think that puts people in a different place in their life. I think it puts you in a place where you can change and grow in a really substantial, in the most important ways. So that's number one. And number two would be my experience I had early in my life with setting goals, which I've recounted many times on many stages around the world. But that really changed me. It gave me belief and confidence that I could do anything if I was clear about it, wrote it down, read it every day, and program my subconscious and let it go to work on that problem and make that happen. And the third area that I would say is just through the course of my life, seeing the value and the power of habits. And as I've said before many times, this is a critical component because habits are either the best of servants or the worst of masters. And, unfortunately, they can own you in really difficult ways. If you got the wrong habits in your life, they can destroy you. But if you got the great habits and you're consistent with those habits, then they're the best of servants. They go to work for you and help make your life a lot better. So I'd say those are three areas. I could probably name more, but anyway.
That's great. I love that quote that they just put up on the screen there. Habits are the best of masters and the worst of servants. But, you and I, we both married up. We both have 4 daughters that are born within the same years, and we both have all these grandkids running around. So I love the fact that you mentioned your wife and your family and the accountability. And I think both of our wives did network marketing probably before we did,
Right.
if I recall the story. And so we've got an interesting start there. But probably one of the things that you mentioned you have spoken on stages around the world ad nauseum. I mean, countless numbers of times when it comes to goals. And I wonder, when you said when you were at a young age, what got you going in that direction?
Well, I ran across an audio tape by the Success Motivation Institute in Waco, Texas. And there was a guy in there with a really good Texas drawl. I'll think of his name in a minute. But he just was saying, look, he's saying, don't stop by saying, well, I don't have the money to do that, or I don't know the right people to, accomplish that, or I don't know how to go there. He said, just don't be limited. He said, it's like magic. You can write these goals down and read them every day, and you'll be amazed how they start to happen in your life. And that was 14 years of age when I first heard that. I didn't hear it from my parents. I didn't hear it from anybody in my life at the time. This was some tape I got from someplace, somewhere. And I don't know why. I just found myself listening to it one day, and all of a sudden it was like, maybe I should try this. Maybe I should write it down. And I had this, 6 by 8 inch little binder, and it was just blank pages of paper. And I just started writing, just going crazy, writing, and I didn't let anything stop me. I wrote crazy stuff that I thought, well, whatever, just write it down, And when we moved to a new home, when I was 40 years of age, I found it in a box. I was unpacking these boxes of books, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, here's this little maroon covered, little binder. And I just sat down and I started opening these pages, and I'm looking through the stuff I wrote literally 26 years earlier, right? Mm-hmm. And every single one of the crazy things I wrote down had happened except one at that time. And since that time, that's happened too. But anyway, that's where I got started on it. And then I got much more extensive, into my planning of my life and my goals. And I went through another book, around 30 years of age. And that's when I mapped my life. And this gentleman was basically saying, look, just go to the end of your life and decide what you want it to look like. And so I wrote down goals for when I would be age 90 in the year 2050. And then I just broke them down. I said, here's what it's going to be like at 90 in these different areas of my life, spiritual areas, my relationships, my financial areas, my social and friends, my physical fitness areas. So I just made these goals in these areas, and then I just took it back 20 years, another 20 years, another 10 years, another 5 years, another year to a year from that time. So, and those are amazing. Looking back on those goals as well, is that my 90-year goals have been eclipsed in certain areas already. So,
wow, I love how you share that, because of the detail that you never. Once they were ingrained in you, I'm guessing it was either Nightingale Conant, Paul Meyer, one of those names down there in Waco or something.
Paul J. Myers, yeah, he was the guy that.
It's amazing to think, and I used to when we started working together 18 and a half years ago. So you would offer up you had a let's call it a condo that you had next to one of your real estate projects on the point of the mountain. You'd let me stay there. I'd come up and stay in Utah, and I know that you always had your favorite scriptural. It was always on the counter, always open. So, you started your day, you had your breakfast. It was very regimented. You did your reading, and it was bam, onto the phones, onto the goals. It was just a go, go, go. So I think in the world of Og Mandino, I think he wrote the scroll number 9 for you, and that's called I Will Act Now, because I never saw you say you want to do something when you weren't going to say, let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. Yeah. And so you're the most can-do guy that I really, I would say, you and one of the other individuals when I first started in network marketing were the most goal-oriented and the most big thinkers, if you will. And so your wife, your goals, and then the habits. And I guess, what do you think got you in the direction of habits? Where do you think you just kind of said, this is my life? I mean, as far as I know, I've rarely or never heard you use a 4-letter word. I'd never see you veer off course in any goal in your life. I've never seen you take a vacation that you enjoyed when you were working. I mean, you were go. So talk about those habits, if you will, for just a minute.
There was and I'm not even sure where I found this, but there was a process that was spelled out really, really simply. And hang on one sec here. Phone call coming in. All right. Yeah. So it basically starts with your thoughts. And I've shared many times that I came across a little teeny book. I mean, so rusty, Dan. It's like I used to have this stuff right on the top of my head,
It's okay.
But As a Man Thinketh is a book that everybody should read. Teeny small book. I'll think of the author in just a minute. But anyway, yeah, you read that book, and he was one of the first kind of self-improvement type writers. And he wrote these great books, and he basically said your mind is like a garden. And you got to be careful what you plant in the garden, because that's what you're going to harvest throughout your life. And so as I read that book, I thought about this, and basically he says, look, your thoughts become your words. Like if you think something enough, you'll start to verbalize it. And if you verbalize it enough, then your words become your actions. You actually start to do those things that you're verbalizing. And if your actions get repeated over and over again, then they form themselves into habits in your life. And those habits will carry you whichever direction you're tied to with whatever those habits are. They're like autopilot kind of control that takes you in a certain direction in your life. At least that's been my experience. And those habits, they kind of create your character over time. It defines who you as a person are and how you're known to other people, because they can see your character in that way, and the character fixes your destiny. I mean, that's the legacy that you're going to leave behind. You're not going to take anything with you. You're going to leave everything except who you become. And I believe you take that with you into the next life. And it's those experiences, and it's that level of intelligence or those thoughts that you accumulate in this life that you take with you. So, that's where we need to be invested, is learning how to master our minds and control our bodies, and seeing if we can have self-discipline and control to act and do the right things and not react. So many people spend their life reacting to other people or what they do or something that happened. Oh, COVID happened to me or whatever. People can always come up with something that, I mean, are you seriously going to let COVID change your future? You're weak, man. If that's the way you're thinking about it, you just decide, you make a decision about where you're headed, what you're going to do. And as Leonardo da Vinci said, he who is fixed to a star is not going to change his course. He knows exactly where he's headed and what he's going to accomplish, he or she. And there is unbelievable power in defining that and writing that down. And it's been said many times that, all of a sudden you have all these unseen forces that come to your aid that help you to actually accomplish, that goal that you've put out there.
Yeah. Really love that. So many great comments, so many great friends of yours, people chiming in here. And certainly Og talks about it in The Greatest Salesman in the World. And that is, I will be a slave to my habits. And, not only they'll be pleasurable, because I think you just loved the journey so much. You loved the people. I mean, I was fortunate to travel with you on certain means of transportation, different countries around the world and stuff. And I mean, there were times when you're flying places to do meetings. It could be different parts of the world where it had no financial benefit to you. It could be a special event for a friend or a family. It could be a wedding. It could be a baptism. It could be all kinds of things. You just really love the people that you invested your life in. And how do you now carry that on, that you've turned off the spigot to the network marketing world?
Yeah. That's a good question, because I do miss many of you that are commenting. It's great to see your comments and your faces and everything. And I think, Dan, that what's happened is that there's a piece of your life that changes. There's a piece that you fill a bit of a void there. You miss people. You miss the interaction. Certainly, I miss the energy of a large event. There's not been many of those in the last year, but those were life-changing experiences for many people, because there definitely is an energy inside of a venue when you get a lot of people that are focused on the same thing, heading the same direction, wanting to accomplish similar goals. And there is a definite energy that starts to shift people in terms of their level of belief and what they think they can do with that particular opportunity. It's like it gives people permission to actually believe they can do similar things to what you've done, because they can see other people that are there doing the same thing. And that faith or that hope, that energy that, is there is real. It's powerful and it's life-changing. And so those are, those are the fun ones, right? Those are the easy ones. The hard ones are when it's you and you're looking at your phone, or you're looking at who you're going to contact, and the rubber's got to meet the road when nobody else is watching. That's what they say true integrity is. True integrity is what you look at, what you read, what you listen, what you do, and who you speak with and who you interact with when you think no one else is watching. So, can you just dig in?
I've heard you be really candid about that subject with people, about what are you doing when no one's watching. I've heard you literally look at an audience of thousands of people and say, hey guys, look, if you're looking at pornography, you got to get that out of your life. It'll destroy you. I mean, I heard you be very candid with people, because if the goal is big enough, you have to make that habit so crystallized and aligned with true principles. And you did that. And I want to congratulate you on that journey. It's awesome to see you in this setting, because like you said, you forget a few things. We're not on a stage. We're not shaking hands. We're not taking pictures. It's just me and you, and thousands of people will be watching today and throughout the time on the podcast, et cetera. You had a focus that was rare. Probably still do. I think you mentioned to me when we were walking the beach, looking at your beautiful new home in San Clemente on Sunday, I think you said something to the effect of, Dan, I just have a structure to my life. I have things. My wife, she's more spontaneous, but I've got a structure. And so you had a structure and a rhythm to your life, and getting around the globe every year and speaking to people.
Yeah, we did. And, my wife, she'll say in the morning, she used to say, are you going to have oatmeal again? I said, honey, I'm always going to have oatmeal. You don't ever have to ask me that question again. It was like, I'll ask you, do you want some? And you can tell me whether you do or you're going to do something else for breakfast. But yeah, I probably am a little too regimented to a fault, where I do have these patterns and these habits and these time efficient ways. The older I get, the more kind of nervous I am about wasting any time on anything. And so I try to even take the mundane things in my life and make sure that I'm being more time efficient with those things.
I've never known you to waste a moment on anything, Nate. I've been with you on, I'll give you a couple examples, and some people will chuckle for a minute and you might say, McCormick, shut up. But I've been on airplanes with you when you absolutely, for the first time ever, when you were in the back of the plane, before you were at the front of the plane, you'd fall asleep in a nanosecond. I've been at a Blue Man concert with you, and because we weren't on the phone or doing a meeting, we were at a Blue Man concert. You fell asleep in the Blue Man concert. And I know that there's a famous story about you doing meetings so hard and so fast in Japan that I think you fell asleep in the shower and had to race to your plane, if I remember that story correctly.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy stories. That's what happens when you're going around the world and you're not sure what time zone you're in. Your body takes the break whenever it can get it.
Indeed. Well, let me take a break, and then I want to shift in, if we don't mind. I want to ask you some specific questions about the grind and the build of your network marketing organizations that made you so legendary around the world. I just do a commercial on behalf of the Augmandino Company and the ambassador of the Augmandino Company that this is an episode that's brought to you by Cracking the Social Code, which is powered by the Habit Finder. Social currency has never been as valuable as it is right now. Of course, 2.5 billion people are on Facebook, like most of us right now, and it's still the biggest bank. We want to We want more interested people to connect with than you can handle, perhaps. And it's time to crack the code and stop waiting for an algorithm, if you will, to grant you access to influence you deserve to make more sales, build dominant alliances, and add value to the world. Are you ready to put your social back in social media? Get out of the ponds of Facebook and move into the deep oceans of influence and dominant reach. Then you are ready for cracking the social code. You can visit, as you see going across the screen right there, thehabitfinder.com/social VIP to start cracking the code today. Nate, social media is not one of your favorites. It hasn't been one of your top priorities in life, but it's just the craziest thing. As we talked about on the beach, it's like I'm on Facebook more than I care to be, because that's where thousands of my friends and your downline and my downline are every day in this day and age. And so we at the Yog Mandino company have figured out how to teach people how to use it more effectively. So cool. I got a great question for you. You're famous for something on, I'm looking at the YouTube page right here, and you have a lot of videos on YouTube, but you're very famous for something called driving lines. And there's a psychology to the success that you created around the globe. And I think at one time, maybe you had 18 of the top lines in the world in your organization that reached the top level in the company. But maybe touch on how that incredible effort honed you in. And I love when I'd be in an audience of thousands of people and you'd explain the compensation structure. And it really is for any company in network marketing, simply by driving a line.
Yeah, no, that's something that I stumbled across kind of by accident early on in the business through the process of driving one of my first lines and just sifting down and going to the next level down, the next level down, next level down, just trying to find somebody who was better than the people above them, somebody who would create that fire from the bottom and create that upline motivation that would motivate people to move because of the fear of loss. And we've learned that people react, they work harder and they'll stretch harder, they'll reach harder to keep something that they believe they already have, instead of just hoping they can get something else in the future. And so it's really interesting to see what happens when you can find that locker that's down 3, 4, 5, 6 generations down in a leg someplace. And that person's just been waiting for this thing literally for their whole life. They've been preparing through different things they've done, and they're connectors and they're ready to go. And all of a sudden you put them in the right vehicle and they literally can take off and create a lot of activity in a very short period of time, and attracting like-kind people in the same way. And my experience with that was a multiplication of effort. It was, if I could invest my time on my 5th generation with a really powerful leader that was growing very quickly, then I was 5 timesing my effort, because I didn't have to worry too much about the 4 generations between me and them. They were going to be self-motivated. If they weren't, then they weren't alive, their heart wasn't beating, they weren't thinking, and they probably were going to be gone anyway. And so, with our particular compensation plan and the new skin opportunity, it lent itself really well to the concept of driving those lines. And once I figured that out, to me, it was a really potent confidence booster, because some people kind of feel like network marketing is just kind of luck, like it's the luck of the draw, or like just slam 1,000 names against the wall and some will stick and something will turn out. And certainly I've seen people who can do that and they'll surface a leader or 2. But what if there was a way you could actually manufacture these power legs? What if there was a formula you could follow and it wasn't luck, it was execution. It was just focus and execution, and then just you could decide how many you wanted to create. And I proved that. I proved that to myself and to everybody else in the world, because I was able to go out and almost, at will, pick a leg and start going and start driving and sifting and finding leaders and locking them in.
Yeah. Well, I'm always grateful for you for pinging on my doorstep 18 and a half years ago and bringing that technology to the company that made me say, hey, I want to be a part of something bigger than me, and something that can be a life changer around the world. I know that you have not only this incredible work ethic, but you figured out the structure and the strategy. You had a great mind about figuring out a duplication model, if you will, that really made that thing hum for you around the world. And I wonder if you wouldn't, for the benefit of people that aren't where they would like to be, I wonder if you wouldn't share the story, maybe in Cliff Note form, of when you were getting started and you went to that Salt Lake City office and you went to do that fancy presentation and you got the lotions and potions out and it's dripping through your hands on the table. You can pick it up from there and tell everybody that you got to go through some trials.
Yeah, that was a make or break day for me, and it almost broke me.
Wow.
Almost would have been gone, very, very close. Yeah, it's sometimes people are going to ridicule is not the right word. Trying to think of the right word. It's really embarrass you, or it's a tough thing. When I had that experience, I went to a friend of mine that I respected a lot. I'd done a lot of business with, and I was overzealous. I was too excited, and I squirted him. And my mistake was I squirted him. I shouldn't have squirted him with a hand lotion. And that's kind of just made him recoil a bit and look at me like, you have lost it, man. You are like, you're a crazy person. And as he sent me packing out of that room, and I left there pretty rejected and dejected, and just, furious at myself that I didn't have the words to respond. I didn't know what to say yet. I was too new in the business, and I didn't know how to describe what I was trying to accomplish. And I was more mad at myself for just not performing very well and for the way I handled that approach to that person. And I sat in my car and I just thought, man, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this isn't what I should be doing. And it was a hard introspective moment of truth. And I just remembered I had that little audio tape from a guy named Mark Yarnell, who's since passed on. And I plugged that in, and I was driving back down the road towards my office, and I just thought, yep, right there, that's why I'm doing it. Don't ever forget that. And it helped me to really get clear and crystallize why I was doing it. I wasn't selling hand cream. I was creating leverage in my life. I was trying to be part of this vehicle that could take me someplace different in my life. And that was a real tough but clarifying moment.
Interesting. And so you carry on, you plug the audio cassette in, or you pick up a good book, or whoever's out there that needs that. You got to get your mind back in the positive. And how early in the business do you recall you were when that happened?
That was probably in the first 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. First 2 weeks. And yeah, it's true. You need to have, somebody you can identify with in the company, your upline, a sideline, somebody that you can call if something gets really out of whack, because, that person could save you. And, maybe it's a book, maybe it's an audio tape, maybe it's something to remind you of the feelings you had and why you did it. And what I've learned is reality is what you think it is. People create their own realities based on how they're going to think about situations and how they're going to act inside of that frame. And so for me, I could think, well, yeah, almost everybody I know thinks network marketing stinks, or they don't like it, or they think I'm crazy to participate in it. I think I've lost my marbles, or whatever it might be. I just didn't care, because I understood the concept of leverage. I understood that there was very few things in this world that I could create as much leverage with as I could with network marketing, and do it in a way that would be responsible and help other people to have the same leverage, not in a take advantage kind of way of leveraging people, but bringing them along with you and giving them the same opportunity, the exact same opportunity you had. I wasn't an owner of the company. I didn't have stock in the company. I didn't have any internal plan or anything. I was in the same compensation structure as everybody that I was talking to could be part of as well, or was already part of, and we're doing the same thing. And that gave me huge confidence over that 30-year, period of work at Nu Skin, 3 decades. I learned how to do it. I learned how to drive lines. I learned how to create huge groups and big volumes and hundreds of millions of revenue for the company. And, I learned, okay, so I've actually done it all inside of this very same structure. And it gave me the confidence to believe that if I could do it, that I figured anybody could do it if they could get focused and get serious about it.
Well, I'm going to correct you on one thing because you said hundreds of millions. I'm going to say it's been billions and billions and billions of dollars in revenue you've created for the company, yourself, your family, other people. I mean, you've probably created, I wouldn't know how to figure it out. Maybe you do, but you've probably created over $1 billion in incomes for families around the globe, just looking at it that way, knowing that it's happened. So it's in the billions. Now, when you get to that stage and you have an organization like that, you kind of had some goals on those sheets early on. You had real estate goals and you had all kinds of things. And I remember we're standing in Anaheim. I want to say it was maybe our January kickoff in 2009, 2010. And you put some slides up on the screen on having this giant organization. And then you talked about, whoops, I can't believe the stress I put myself through with all that real estate investment. The economy's crashing. You were this close. Your investments were this close. And I mean, I want people to realize that, while there's a lot of people that think Nathan Ricks anything he touches is going to turn to gold, but there's some challenges along the way as an entrepreneur, investor, private equity, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, there's everybody's going to have negative experiences as part of life. It's going to happen to everybody, right? And so you take the good ones and you make them as good as you can make them, and you take the bad ones and you try to minimize them. Be smart enough to minimize them as much as you can, right? I mean, that's the key. They can waste your time and your money, but your time in the end is way more valuable than your money. And so, it's like you got to know when to cut bait on things and just say, no more good money after bad, no more time invested after, a poor investment done. So you just got to change it. You got to decide you're going to do something different and be more productive and more positive. Really key thing.
You were kind of, I'm going to use the word infamous on a presentation you did last year at a university for your son-in-law, I believe. And you're speaking to a business class. It's on YouTube somewhere. And you do this entire thing about your life. You go through your investments and the ones that work, the ones that didn't. And when the ones that don't work and the ones that strike you like that, I mean, is it a tough swallow for you? I mean, I listened to Elon Musk. I think I sent you the presentation not long ago when he said, I figured I had a 10% chance of making it. And the only thing I was going to lose was money. I just wonder how that works for you when you might lose money.
I don't know. It's probably painful for everybody when you lose money. And if you lose millions of dollars, it's really painful, because you think, well, I had these other ones that went well. And if I would have had it in those other ones, then it would have been great. But you miss every shot you don't take. Yeah. Every shot you don't take, you miss. Yeah. So I guess the key is, be careful about what you get involved in. Make sure you can finish, be a finisher. Don't be a quitter, right? If you're going to commit to something, be careful what you commit to, because you want to make sure that you're a finisher and you see it through. If it's going to hit a wall and it is time to end it and cut bait, then you got to do that. You got to cut it. And sometimes it's really hard to do that. And it's with people you care about and they've invested stuff and everything else. But sometimes it's just, you get to a point, you've done everything you can do and there's no more to do. There's no other way out. And you're chasing bad time. So it's time to change and, and look at things differently and move a different direction. And that's, great leaders do that, boy. They're good at pivoting. Most companies that you invest in don't end up doing the original thing you thought they were going to do, right? Especially startup companies. It seems like they pivot a lot and eventually keep pounding and searching. It's like when we talk about having that goal out there, and sometimes you got to be strong enough to blast right through the wall in front of you and go through it and get it. Sometimes there's a detour. You got to go around it, over it, under it, whatever it might be. But ultimately you're going to get to that particular destination. So yeah, what's the big objective, Yeah,
no, that's well
living up to your moral code and seeing if you can create a family. That's the greatest treasure anybody can have. Yeah. You asked me what I'm filling my time with. Part of it was with 13 grandchildren and number 14 coming in a few weeks. So, I've told my kids early on, I want 20. There's 4 of you. You got to have 5 each. That's one better than your mom and I did. So you guys are better than we are. And one of them's already there, another one's knocking on the door. Others have a couple more to go, but it's the greatest thing, I mean, the grandkids are the most fun, phenomenal thing that has happened in my life next to my wife and kids. So we're really blessed. We feel really lucky.
Yeah. Wow. It's just so great to have you. I know that Roz Hobbs put a comment up here a minute ago, and a lot of people could say this. Maybe Miriam can grab that comment that when you flew your jet up there. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here and test my memory, Nate. N2648 X-ray, the first tail on that first jet of yours. Did I get it?
You got it, man. 2648. You got it. Yeah.
N2648 X-ray, ready for takeoff, baby. And I remember we were coming back from the East Coast, and we're going through these places in Canada, and it's like 3 a.m, and you got to fuel up in Winnipeg. And I mean, it was just unbelievable. When did you know you wanted to be a pilot?
When I sat in the back of so many planes all the time going, why am I in the back? I'm not a spectator. I'm the guy that likes to lead. Why am I not flying this thing, right? So, yeah, that's, I don't know, for a long time I wanted to do it. And thankfully, Peter Bannister, who's one of our team elites in our business, was a 747 captain, and he decided to purchase a property in Utah where we were close to where we were living. And he was a big catalyst. He said, hey, let's just buy a little plane, you can start learning to fly. And so we bought a Cirrus, and then I bought another one, and then I bought another one. I bought 5 in a row. When I bought the 5th one, the whole factory came out. They're like, who is stupid enough to buy 5 of these things? And so I just kept buying the upgrade. I was a sucker for the upgrade. And then from there to jets, because jets, we could get around and actually get a lot of places really fast. And yeah, that was the night when we fueled in Winnipeg, when we were going to see Roz Hobbs in Edmonton. And we were leaving. I think we flew out of Chicago in a major snowstorm that night. And got up above it all and got over to Winnipeg and over to Edmonton. Those were great days.
Sharon Ryder's got a great comment right here. The best answer. I want to be up front. You always said that the money's in the front of the room. Why don't you talk about that concept? Because there's a lot of leaders on this call. There's people that maybe are newer that don't know you. And you used to always say that, hey, when you go to these events, hey, you want to be at the front of the room. So today's language would be, you want to be the one dictating those live events on Facebook. You want to be the one doing those Zoom events. You want to be part of that kind of thing. You used to really say that a lot. The money's in the front of the room.
Yeah. And I think the reason that we always have pushed people to present, to be the presenter, to stand up in front of the room before you're ready, or get on Zoom before you're ready, is because when you're the teacher, that's when you've internalized it and you've actually learned the principle. It's this concept I read the other day, and it's the Richard Feynman, effect, right? I mean, if you can take a complex concept and you can distill it down so that a 12-year-old can understand it, now you've internalized it. Now you actually know it, and you can teach it and you can repeat it. Just to sit there and listen and think you've learned something without repeating that or trying to teach that, hence duplication. That's why we want people to follow that path and then end up duplicating our positions, things that we're doing, is because that's when they've internalized it, and that's when they start to understand it. They start to believe it. They gain hope and confidence and faith in it, and then they'll take action. Faith is a principle of action. If they believe it, if they got faith in it, then they're going to take action, and they're going to take huge action if they believe it a lot. And so that's part of that whole duplication process, is people have to turn around and regurgitate it. Then they got it.
Love that. And I remember you talking about how many times you drew the compensation plan out. I mean, so you just knew that you were just going to go through numbers and numbers and more numbers. And here we have, in a different way today with Zoom and with Facebook, 2.5, 3 billion people on social media, whatever the numbers are. It's a pretty crazy thing. So in closing, Nate, I mean, there's a lot of things we could go on. There's so many people that are commenting and thanking you in advance for your comments here today. So when I look at your 3 things, I like to go back to those 3 things in closing generally. You talked about your wife, and I think that's just so admirable and so cool that you can go to a university and speak to your son-in-law's class, if that's the case, or the class that he taught, or you can take your daughters to special places. I mean, you're very involved with your wife and family. I remember one time your wife had a goal to go see the Galapagos Islands, if I remember. Was that her goal?
Yeah, she just loves wildlife and animals. I mean, she should have been a vet. She takes care of everything, And so that was our 30th anniversary surprise trip for her. She didn't really know it was happening, but I popped it on her, and we went to the Galapagos on a private cruise ship. I think it had 20 rooms or something, and five servants for every guest. It was awesome.
That's
Just
cool.
a white glove treatment. And we ended up having this amazing week on this ship, and diving with hammerhead sharks and, seals, and like just incredible species everywhere. Phenomenal.
I love that. You've been
Yeah.
about everywhere in the world that anybody could ever want to see. When you look at your goals today, do you still write down new goals? Do you refine them? Do you try to add? I mean, how do you look at life now?
Yep. Yeah. Joyce and I did our 2021 goals on January 2nd.
Great.
We sat down on maybe the third Sunday and kind of got the family stuff behind us for the holiday and the new year. And then, we just sat down and spent a few hours on that. And I think that I saw somebody said they'd done that this past Sunday with their family. And I mean, what a great thing to do with your family. I did this with my children growing up, same 5 areas. That was Vanessa. Vanessa was the one, I think, who said she did that. And it's just, my kids, they just set goals now. They know how to do it, and they grew up doing it. And some of them have taught their husbands how to do it. And, we dig in. I mean, big believers on still, I think you just got to have the next one out in front of you all the time, right? Life's short. There's so many great things that everybody can accomplish. And it's just a matter of making those decisions, writing them down, reading them every day, and then magic happens. The universe aligns itself to aid you in achieving those objectives and goals, especially when they're really good things. And you'll get heaven's help helping you to accomplish good things in your life for other people and thinking about others. So, hey, just one correction from what got posted on the habits. I noticed the post was exactly backwards. So habits are either the worst of masters or they're the best of servants.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll get someone to type that in. Well, I have one last question that your friend Bill Toth wanted me to ask you. So
Bill's awesome.
Bill's awesome. He was on the show with his wife a few weeks ago. We had so much fun because they kept making references to animals and nature. And we, in the middle of the show, I just welcomed everybody to the animal nature show. And it was quite fun. But, he came from the Tony Robbins background field. And Tony liked to ask people, as he did his interviews with lots of success stories around the globe. And that is, do you ever give thought to how you would like to be remembered?
I just want to be my posterity to say, man, he was awesome. He was a cranker, and he provided all these great opportunities for us, great experiences, great trips. I mean, that's in the end, that's what matters. It's the people in our lives. It's the people we can affect and touch their life in some way, and help them move on. I mean, those are the greatest things.
Today, you're Nathan Ricks sitting in the greatest salesman chair, the greatest salesman maybe ever in network marketing. There's been a lot of good ones. No one's done it as well as you or any better than you. And it's just great to have you here on episode number 27 of the Greatest Salesman podcast. And so many people around the globe are going to enjoy your time today and enjoy. And they're just so happy for you because you, as I told my wife, or I told Bill when I was on the phone with him the other day, I said, I can walk with Nate on the beach now and I can kind of keep up with him. But, 15 years ago, man, there was a measure to your step. There was never going to be a dull moment. You got to hurry up and get that walk done, that ride done, that workout done, so you can get back on the phone and crank. So
yeah, no, it's sometimes I look back and think, well, I probably was too hardcore. I probably missed too many things, and so you have a few regrets. But there's always trade-offs. There's going to be a trade-off in everything you're going to try to do in your life, and if you're trying to do something great, you got to make great sacrifices on other areas, to accomplish it. There's no free lunch in any way. And, I want to compliment you, Dan. You've been such an inspiration to me because of your consistency and what you did for everybody in the new skin world and have done and continue to do every Saturday, just so consistent, like clockwork, dedicating your time, sacrificing some of your family time on a Saturday morning every week to lift people. And nobody's done it as consistently and as long as you have and as well as you have. And I just am grateful to be your friend.
Well, thank you. It's great to know each other and know our families and have worked together. And be able to still appreciate the different paths and the journeys and the contributions that we both hope to make to other people's lives. So thank you very much. And for those that are new to the Greatest Salesman podcast, we're here every Wednesday, 2:00, Wisdom Wednesday, live on live on Facebook and YouTube. You can go to thegreatestsalesman.com for all of the podcasts. 26 previous to Nathan, but I did have a goal. I did have a goal, Nate. I wanted you to be the guy to kick off the new year, because I know so many people have looked at their goals, and perhaps they've read The Greatest Salesman, perhaps they've read As a Man Thinketh, or listened to Paul J. Meyer, and maybe it's time to really say, can I just get 10% better? Can I go all in right now? So it was great to have you. Happy New Year to you and your family. Thank you, everybody, for making the time to be here today. And we look forward to being back with you next Wednesday, 2:00. Nathan Ricks, the greatest salesman in the world. I'm Dan McCormick.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye for now.
See ya. Bye-bye.